And when I came back up, he had the gun now. And that's when he goes, I'm going to kill you now. So he cocks the gun and he puts it right up to my forehead. And I just said, I go, okay, I'm not going to feel this at all. It's going to be quick. And a couple of seconds go by and he doesn't do nothing. No, he wasn't. One I did in Queens. That was a crazy one. That was, I go out to the truck. I get in a truck. There's a couple of chiefs in there. I'm like, oh boy. So what's going on? So I was explained. He had a guy up there, had his 18-month-old daughter, holding her. They're both doused in gasoline. Okay. Jesus. The whole apartment is filled with gas cans, propane tanks, anything, all kinds of explosives.
Do you want to get going?
Whenever you want to go.
Cool. Lovely. Thanks very much for sitting down with me, Mike.
You're very welcome.
Can you do me a favour? Can you give us a quick bio for anyone doesn't know kind of who you are, what you did?
My name is Michael Ahearne. I'm a retired detective from the New York City Police Department. I worked 31 years. Retired out of what they call Manhattan South Night Watch, which is the detectives who take care of any incidents on the midnights.
Okay.
In Manhattan South or otherwise in Manhattan.
Okay, that's lower
as a whole, which would be the lower part of Manhattan. Yes. Okay. 59th Street down.
59th Street down. Okay, I see. Okay, so where'd you grow up? Are you from New York originally?
Yep. Born and raised in New York.
Oh yeah.
Born in Brooklyn, raised on Long Island.
Oh, very good.
And so that's pretty much it. I had a 31-year career.
Oh yeah, very good. Okay, so was there a time, maybe childhood or teens, when you decided cop is the career I want?
No, never had any wanting to be a cop.
Go on.
It's kind of funny actually. My one of my brothers wanted to be a police officer, and like your father tells you, go take the tests. Go take the tests or whatever. I went to college. On a baseball scholarship, and after a little over a year, I was like, you know what, this is not for me, and I didn't feel like finishing with the college, so I took the test, and within 2 years, I was on the police department.
I see. Okay, so you started at what age? Kind of college age?
Well, when I went on the police department, I was 21 years old.
21. Okay, yeah, you were young enough. Okay, so do you start off? Do you just start off like as a beat cop? Does everyone kind of do that? Yeah,
I mean, once you go through the police academy, you're trained in the police academy, and then you put into it. At the time, they called it a field training unit. So I started up in the Bronx.
Okay.
And then you do 6 months there, kind of get your feet a little bit wet, and then from there I was transferred to the 19th precinct in Manhattan.
Okay.
And I spent most of my career there.
Okay. At the time, what was the year you became a cop again?
1987.
87. Okay. Obviously, I wasn't around, but like New York had a very, it was known as like very high crime, loads of homicides, so on. Was that your experience?
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was. It was. We had a drug problem with crack was a very, very big problem.
Right.
Crime was extremely high. Homicides were the highest they ever were.
Huge, like.
I remember working in the 19th precinct. It's the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Always considered always the joke was, which it was, great places to eat, tons of bars, all this stuff. But it was, robberies through the roof, burglaries at the time. Huh. Oh yeah, just.
Okay, I know Upper East as being like
insane,
like very safe and stuff. Yeah, it must have changed quite a bit.
And they over the years, the crime was, the crime went down a lot.
Yeah, a huge thing. I remember looking at the stats for I interviewed a cop who sets up like boxing gyms for kids and stuff, and,
nice.
and he did it when it was very high, and the murder rate was like, it was kind of like 3 times almost what it is.
Oh, it's
not more.
There were 2,000 2,000 homicides a year.
Insane. Yeah, really
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, so you go to 19th precinct. Are you just doing the patrol thing or anything?
Well,
particular?
initially when you get to the 19th precinct at that time, I was, you're low on the totem pole, so it's they have what they call we have all the missions there, the different from the different countries. So we had like the Russian mission, we had the Yugoslavian mission.
I'm sorry, mission meaning?
That's their residence. That's the residence of the diplomats from those countries.
Okay.
So we had to man them.
I see.
So these was like steady fixer posts. So when I first got there, they had guys that did it steady, but then they would also I would being the new guy, you would, they would put you on these posts as well.
Okay, get the boring job, yeah.
So it was boring for a little while, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, when was it that you started becoming a negotiator?
Oh, that was until many years later, because I went up the kind of through the steps, the way they used to say. So I started, getting into a radio car, and then became a steady radio car with a partner.
Right.
And then later on, I went to anti-crime, which was just plain clothes.
Okay.
So I did that for almost 5 years.
Right, I see.
And from there, I was asked if I wanted to go up to the route of becoming a detective,
Right.
and I did. And that's how I wound up going up into the detective squad, where I was eventually promoted to detective.
Okay, what's the difference in let's say like your day-to-day stuff between being a detective and what you were before, kind of an ordinary cop?
Before, when you're working anti-crime, you're in plain clothes. You're basically out there. You're trying to arrest people for committing crimes.
Okay.
That's your job.
Right.
So you're out there. You're watching. You see people that maybe look suspicious to you, whatever. So what we would do is get out and follow the person. Hopefully, you would watch them for a while, and if they committed a crime and whatever, you would make the arrest. That's how. That was your job.
Right.
Before that, when you were in the radio car, you're responding to 911 calls.
Okay.
And whatever you observe riding around in the street in your designated areas. The difference is, when I went upstairs to the detective squad now, that's when basically you're investigating the cases that the patrol officers cannot.
Okay. And the difference being the severity of the crime, or
it's different now. The detectives basically investigate everything.
Okay.
Anything that's basically a case that's left open where there's some investigative leads, they will investigate.
I see.
So it could be anything from a petty larceny, which would be something like a shoplift, to something as bad as murder.
Okay, I got you. Were you a detective? Like when you were a detective, was it? I know there's like homicide detectives and this kind of detective. Was it any? Was there like an extra title on it, like a specific kind of area?
Most of the detective, there's all different. This is a huge police department,
Right.
So you have all different like within the police department, where you have narcotics, you have homicide detectives. Basically, the homicide detectives, they would go out to whatever precinct there was in their area. So they did, like I said before, Manhattan South covered from 59th Street down to the bottom of Manhattan.
Okay.
Manhattan North was from 59th Street up to the top of Manhattan.
And there's multiple precincts.
So multiple precincts. So if you were like in a homicide squad, if let's say the 19th precinct had a homicide, you go down and you assist the detectives in the detective squad.
Okay, I see.
And you have like all these other ones, like you have a special victim squad, it's like anything like sex crimes.
Right.
So they would respond to those locations as well.
Okay, I see. Okay, and when did the I guess I'll ask. Was it like a choice of yours to go the route of negotiator, or did it kind of someone suggested, or how did that come about?
No. I actually, I guess I applied for it the hard way. I was actually working in the 19th precinct one night, and I was taken hostage.
Oh, go away.
So I was taken hostage and at gunpoint for 4.5 hours. So,
I see. But
so
the guy
after that, right after that, incident was over and I was lucky enough to walk out, the lieutenant at the time was Lieutenant Jack Cambria.
Oh, who got your contact through? Actually.
Yeah, who was, what can I say, fantastic guy. Saved my life. Him, Sam Miller, and Mike O'Looney, amongst hundreds of other, ESU officers and patrol officers, and they, that's Jack. Asked me. Actually, when I was walking out the door after this happened, he's like, "Hey, you want to be a negotiator?" I said, "Let me get back to you on that one."
All right.
So just like
let me recover first.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a humbling experience, and meeting Jack was, what can I say? Jack's a great guy. I still keep in touch with him.
I see.
And, that's how I became a negotiator.
I see. You're probably sick to death of telling it and reliving it and so on. But can you take me through what happened the time you were taken hostage?
Well, I was working in a detective squad, a normal 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. shift. And a woman came in, domestic related. So with all domestic complaints, they have to be interviewed by detectives.
I see.
So the officer that took the complaint brought this woman upstairs, and I was, it was a very busy day, and so I interviewed this woman for a couple of hours, and at the time, there was no real allegation of a crime at the time. Okay. This was more of a dispute because this woman they had a daughter in common. These two people, and what happened was, he kind of left the scene. So she raised this kid herself.
Huh.
She worked hard. She was in real estate and stuff. She worked very hard and raised his daughter, and now this guy's now trying to get back into the picture, and she's like, oh, no, like that type of situation. So she came in to make a complaint. I'm like, well, I don't see a basis for this. But during the conversation turned completely. So she now told me that she was the victim of I forget the timeline, if it was a year or two earlier or whatever. They had gotten together. I think it was on her birthday. And they already had the daughter. The daughter was, several years old. And he said, oh, come on, can we go up to the roof? I want to talk to you. We took her up to the roof and pulled a gun on her and held her hostage, threatened to kill the daughter and her. And this is how this whole thing turned. So now...
And that was about a year before you're interviewing her.
What? I'm sorry.
The time he pulled the gun on her, you said was about a year before.
I don't know. I don't remember the exact timeline. If it was a couple of years, I think it was a couple of years before. Right. So at that point, my argument here is like this: women put up with a lot of abuse. They do in these relationships. So my thing was, but I found in many cases that the women wouldn't. Once you threaten a child, it's like all bets are off. So I started speaking to her. I go, why didn't you? Did you call the police? No. I said, why not? So that was the one part that was making this a little bit unbelievable, but still, the one was animated, and So we started doing we do our thing, our background checks, everything on this guy, his name, and went through this whole thing. And I'd seen that he was arrested 20 years earlier.
20.
Okay, he did have a gun at this arrest. But at the time, the way the way reports read and everything, they were very bland. Okay. Very bland. They weren't detailed at all.
Right.
So, like in a case like that, when you make a gun arrest, it would be, say a time, place of occurrence, defendant was found to be in possession of a loaded firearm.
And
that's how it would say.
Okay.
So that's how I started. And believe it or not, this whole complaint, now that she's generated, was not even in my precinct. It was in the Midtown North precinct. But at the time, it was so, bizarre what she was saying that I couldn't, with good conscience, pass it off like that. So I asked a fellow detective to go with me. I had a potential address.
Okay. For
And I
the
went-
husband?
For the husband.
Okay.
At least I had to speak with him.
Sure.
So I went out, and it was a location in Rego Park.
Oh, yeah, over there. Yeah.
So I went out there and found a location and knocked on the door. And it all kind of went from there because I went over to speak to him. He came out, saw him. He was, wearing jeans and a T-shirt. Nervous, like anybody would be with the police showing up, And, we spoke with him. Calm, good demeanor. Went in there. He actually produced, like, legitimate court papers, raised seals on them. So I had a conversation for a little while,
Okay.
and I asked him. I said, "Listen, would you want to come back with me to the precinct and talk about this? Because sometimes it's easier to talk back there." I said, "Just for more to get a feel." He's like, and he agreed. He was like, "Oh, I'll go with you, no problem. Like, not an issue." He says, "I want to bring all my papers and everything." I go, "Bring your court papers," because I made a deal with him. I said, "Listen, I just want to go back and talk to you. You're not under arrest, nothing like that."
Okay.
I said, "She's making allegations. I need to speak with you. You're not under arrest." I go, if I speak to you, everything works out. I go, "I'll serve the papers on her. You guys can settle this in court. I'll drop you back off later on home."
Okay.
He's like, "Okay, great." So, but right before we went in, I stopped him and I patted him down. I said, "Listen, I know you've arrested 20 years ago for a gun." I said, "I did look into it." I said, "You understand I'm doing this because nobody gets in my car if I don't know you." And he was like, "Okay, no problem." So at that point, he turned the lights out, and I was standing right in the doorway. So the room went dark. He puts his jacket on. It's wintertime. It was on January 14th, 2002. Okay, and he now comes out, gets in the car. The detective with me gets in the back seat with him, sitting next to him.
You had already patted him down, and then he puts on the coat.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and that'll play a little role. So we go down and get in the car. We go back to the precinct. While he's in the precinct, he's in our interview room.
Right.
And I just explained to my supervisor at the time. I said, "Listen, this is what I got. I don't have anything." So I just got to talk to him and told him the whole thing like I told him. He's like, "Yeah, no problem. You do whatever you got to do, Mike." Went back into the room. He's sitting there, like, extremely tense now.
Different demeanor.
Completely different demeanor. And I said, "What's the matter? Relax." I go, calm. What's the matter? "You're not under arrest." Tried to talk to him. "Take your jacket off. Let's talk." As he handed me his jacket, now he had a very, very lightweight ski jacket. He handed it to me and it had like a lot of weight in it. So when I said, "Oh, this jacket's heavy." So I went over to the pocket and I said, like, okay. And meanwhile, at the time, there's a table there and he's making his way around it. He's kind of like moving slowly around the table. As this is going on, I reach in the pocket. There's a plastic bag. First thing I'm thinking, "Oh, God, don't tell me this guy just brought drugs in here with him and whatever." I pull it out. It's actually 2 magazines with ammunition.
Right. Pistol ones?
Yeah. So I was like, and I literally just, I just kind of let out a curse word. And I was like, "Here we go." And I looked over at him and his face was completely changed, like angry and twisted. And he's already got his hands down his pants and he's pulling out. So at that time I had my gun. I'm left-handed. I go to reach for my gun. He's already clearing his waist. So I reach over the table and I grab the gun as it comes out of his pants. So we're in a struggle now. I won't let go of it. We're like locked up. We're fighting over a table. And we're sliding back and forth. I eventually get close. I could never get too close to him, so I finally pushed him where I knocked him down. I turned around to run out of the room. Now I'm yelling, "Gun, gun," let the other detectives know. I pushed one detective behind the wall, and when I did that, I lost my footing. I hit a desk and fell backwards on my butt back in the room again.
Didn't escape the room.
So now I'm sitting there, and I got a couple of guys that I work with coming at me with guns, and I'm like, I think that's when I was the most scared. I love telling that story because I just teased them. I went to the range with them. I saw how they shoot. But here they are. They come running at me. Greatest guys in the world. Come running towards me. He now uses me as cover. He grabs me by my tie and is actually controlling me. and behind me with the gun to my head, and pulls me back into the room, slams the door shut. And now the door is closed. That door was never really closed. Now it closed, and you were not opening it. So they're in there. They're trying to bang on the door to get in. He's trying to hold the door shut. He takes his eyes off me. I grab the gun again, but I'm on the floor. At which point I tried to grab him by his legs to take him down, and he pulls the gun out and hits me over the head. And when I came back up, he had the gun now. And that's when he goes, "I'm going to kill you now." So he cocks the gun and he puts it right up to my forehead. And I just said, I go, "Okay, I'm not going to feel this at all. It's going to be quick." And a couple of seconds go by and he doesn't do nothing. So I look at him and he says, "Listen, I don't like the idea of you having a gun. I want your gun." I said, "You can't have it."
Wow.
He goes, No, I want your gun." So he tried to go around my back and grab, and I pushed him away. He basically told me, he goes, "I'm going to effing kill you." And I said, No, you're not. I said, "No, you're not." I said, you want my gun. You can't have my gun. I go, "Fight's over. I'm going to put my hands out. Watch me." I laid down on my side on my gun.
Okay.
I said, "I'm on my gun. I can't get to my gun. You can't get to my gun. It's done. This fight's over." At which point he wasn't comfortable with it, but he goes, "Okay, Mike, I respect you." He says, "I'm not comfortable with this, but I respect you." So what he did was he then spun me around. He was very, very good at what he did. Okay? He spun me. He moved the table like he wanted to. He knew in this room we were in, there's a glass where you can look in, but they can't see you.
Right.
We use it for lineups. He knew people were looking in there. He was trying to do that to block that, to enhance the strength in the door. There were a couple of items in there, but I cut him off at each one because he wanted to use there was a small locker. I said, "Listen, the leg on the bottom's bad. It's leaning against the wall. If you use that, it's going to fall down. It's full of sweatshirts." I said, "This table over here, the leg, as soon as you move it, the leg's going to fall out of it." I said, "You can't use these." So he was a little frustrated with that, but he was trying to be tactical. And then so I knew, this guy's very tactically aware and well-trained. It winds up that he was in the Israeli military. He lived in Israel. So part of the thing is going into the service. And he was trained. He was very good with a gun, very good with his tactics and everything. So now we had a standoff now that went on for hours. Okay, so as this is going back and forth, finally I never even knew there was a hostage negotiation team. I hear this name. I couldn't even remember his name, Jack Cambria's name, in the beginning.
Right.
Now all of a sudden I hear, "Hi, this is so and so, this is so and so, and this is so and so." Well, his demand was, one of the things was, he wanted all these papers, how the government. He was basically like a troubleshooter, like a hitman for the government. He was doing jobs for the government, like the CIA type stuff. In
his mind.
Well, it was never confirmed or anything, but this is what he's saying, and he wanted to expose them, and he had all this laminated letters, and so he wanted me to, I was reading them, they were reading them. He wanted a reporter. At the time, Michael O'Looney was a reporter for Channel 2 News. Michael O'Looney had just left Channel 2 News, became the commissioner of public information for the New York City Police Department.
Oh.
So literally, Michael just got back from vacation, and he had already turned in his credentials. So he's sliding his passport under the door, and the guy, he's like, "What is this?" He goes, "I just came from vacation right here. I'm doing so." But at this point now, Adrian, granted, Adrian had this gun cocked and to my head the entire time with his finger on the trigger.
He actually had it held.
Oh no, he had it right about this far from my head. The entire time. So he's listening to this, and we're going back and forth, and I'm looking at him, and I'm trying to move a little bit just to keep, because I'm starting to go numb. This was a long time. So they're going back and forth. They're having the conversations. He tested Mike O'Looney to see if he was legit. He was asking me, he goes, "Oh, is this guy legit?" I go, "Mike O'Looney, from Channel 2 News." And he was like, okay. And he felt they made him feel comfortable with everything, and the other detective was Sam Miller. Sam, fantastic guy, 9th Precinct, retired. And he was also big with the Detective Endowment Association. So Sam was there talking, and Sam plays a key part in it too, Sam being of Jewish descent also. Okay, so what happened was Adrian agreed. He goes, if everything goes good, I'm going to let Mike go. So he said it at one time during the interactions.
Sure.
So later on, they basically met his demands. Had a reporter, listened to all the stuff that he was trying to promote. And at this point, he goes, I want a rabbi. And Jack Henry's like, no. He says, listen to me. We've answered all your demands. We got a reporter. This is what we did. So that's when Sam Miller steps in and says, listen, you said you were in the Israeli army. Yes, I was. Very proud of that. He goes, okay, so obviously you're a man of honor. Yes, I am. Okay, now honor your agreement. You said you're going to let Mike go. So be an honorable man, being that you were in the military, and do the right thing here. Let Mike go.
Took the hard approach with him.
So he says, okay, I'm going to let him go. Now I'm sitting there. Yeah, what it was is right before that happened, maybe a short time, I forget how long the time was
going. I can only imagine.
But I said to Adrian when he leaned down, I said to the hostage taker, I said, listen, can you please stop pointing that effing gun at me? I said, you're going to sneeze or cough, and this is over. This means nothing. You solved nothing. And he looked at me, and he actually put the gun up, put it back down, and what you couldn't tell, it was still pointed at my head, but it was actually away from my head. So if you know what I'm saying, so if you look from one direction, it's pointed at my head, but meanwhile it's actually pointed a couple inches away from it. So this was going on. We had become, it was almost like him and I against everybody else now. That's how things started to turn a little bit. And at which point, now he says, I'm gonna surrender. So I'm going, oh, here we go. So, first thing that runs through my mind now is that either it's going to continue, he's going to surrender, he could kill me and kill himself, or just kill me and that's it. That's really the three choices here. So I was trying to move a little bit because I in my own mind I was thinking maybe I'll take a shot and try and grab the gun again before I just don't get, But he, at that point, he just, a couple of maneuvers, better than I've ever seen anybody work a gun. He took that gun apart into pieces and handed it to me. Oh. Here you go, Mike. And I was dumbfounded. I had probably the same stupid look I have right now. I'm like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, I don't know. Geez, let me think about this. Put your hands on the wall. Yeah. And that's what I told him. I had this gun in my hands. I said, put your hands on the wall. Turn around, put your hands on the wall. And I'm yelling out, I've got the gun. I got the gun. And all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. That's 3 times. It took this. That's how bad this door was. Right. And it wasn't even really physically closed with a latch. This door was so messed up. When he slammed it, he must have just did it the right way. So it took them 3 shots with the ram, knocked the door open. The emergency service guys quickly apprehended him. Uh-huh. I'm trying to stand up at this point. My whole side's numb. And I'm like, oh. I'm holding this guy's gun in my hands. I got my gun on my hip. And at which time I walk outside. And I'm like, I'm in a daze. I got to be honest here. I'm in a daze. I'm walking. I see one. I didn't realize it was the one chief, our chief, Chief Fahey, standing there with the helmet on. He goes, "How you doing, kid?" I go, "I'm good. Good. You?" And I mean, I don't know what I don't know what else to say. I walk. I go, "Hey, wow. There's the oh man. There's the police commissioner. There's Chief Esposito, the chief of the department." Then I turn the corner. It's Chief Ali, which was the chief of detectives at the time. And he goes, Michael, are you all right? I'm okay, Chief. Yeah, I'm okay. And he goes, listen, just, go home. I go, come on, Chief, I can't go home. I got to go to the hospital, get checked out, all that stuff. I go, but it'll be a little while. But thanks anyway. I mean, it was just like La La. I was like in La La Land. I was just so happy to get out of there.
Right.
So I went in the back room. I sat down. I wound up going to the hospital for a little while. They checked me out. The doctor's like, your blood pressure's like, which my blood pressure is never normal. Okay? He goes, your blood pressure is perfect. Are you sure you're the guy? And I go, I'm sure I'm the guy.
Right.
I said, you should have taken it about 5 hours ago. But
Jesus.
so we went through that. And what happened was right away, they wanted to know what happened. It's just, the news was there, streets were shut down, everything. They evacuated all the surrounding buildings, and so basically the story came out that I was overpowered and he took my gun and so I said, no. I said, before this goes anywhere, let's be honest. That's not what happened. He had a gun on him. So Commissioner Kelly was the police commissioner at the time. He winds up calling me like later on that day. So I'm answering the phone. My phone never stopped. Guys calling up, you okay? It was really nice that people care so much, And so I get a phone call. Well, Mike. Yeah. Ray Kelly. Hey, how's it going? And I'm like, wait, Commissioner Kelly? He goes, yeah, why? I go, I don't, this is Commissioner Kelly? He goes, yes, Michael. He goes, why? Why do you say that? I go, I don't know, Commissioner. It's been several hours. I figure maybe these guys are starting to play some pranks on me or something. He goes, no, they wouldn't do that. And I said, come on, Commissioner, you're a cop. Of course you would. And he's laughing at this point. And he said, listen, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm home. I'm okay. He says, listen, I really appreciate what you did. I spoke with Jack Cambria. He was saying that you had some concerns that you felt like, now you might get in trouble with the, with the police department and stuff. He goes, you did nothing wrong. He says, actually, I'm so glad, listen, this worked out. Nobody got hurt. He goes, that's all that matters. He says, you did everything right. He goes, you went above and beyond. And it was really nice to hear that from me. And he told me, he goes, don't you worry about a thing. He goes, if any problems, you call me. I was like, okay, thanks. So it made me feel like even better. And it was nice to get the phone call from him. And later on, I wound up, what was it? I was going to go to court. I was scheduled to go to court. What happened was this person went down. He was arrested and taken down to arraignment. And when the judge at arraignment said, how do you plea? And he said, guilty. Give me the maximum. What I did to that guy was the worst. He goes, no, you have to give me the maximum. So the judge goes, you don't tell me what to do. I tell you what to do. So they sent him out for a 30-day psychological evaluation, brought him back, at which point, I don't know how many, when I went to court, he had a couple of attorneys there.
Huh.
They told the judge, we've tried to advise him, and he still wants to plead guilty. So the judge says, okay. So the district attorney at the time that I was dealing, the assistant district attorney that was prosecuting the case was Ann Donnelly, who's now a judge. And Ann said to me, Mike, we're willing to give him a plea bargain. Plea bargain's 25 to life. So I said, oh, that's fine. 25 to life, that's fine. That's, they wanted me to give an impact statement. So I got up to court. Adrian tried to talk to me. Oh, I'm sorry, apologize, whatever. I told him, I said, shut up. I had to listen to you for 4.5 hours. Now you're going to listen to me. I gave an impact statement. It's the courtroom. It was funny. The courtroom was filled with reporters. Not one of them was paying attention. So I went through the whole thing. And when I looked up the judge, it was Judge Atlas. I looked over at the bench, and he was like almost falling over the bench. Judge Atlas is a very big man. Almost falling over the bench, like just dumbfounded. And he later on told the DA, he said, I was going to give him like 10 years. After hearing what that detective said, he goes, I had to give him 25 to life. Gave him 25 to life. And then that's when I, right after that, I think it was, and it was funny because the night before is NYPD Blue, Sipowicz gets taken hostage, okay? Not once during this whole thing, somebody throws me a bone, you know what I mean? I'm not claiming to be good looking, but maybe Jimmy Smits, Sipowicz, come on, you know?
That's funny.
But I don't know, great actor, but, you know, just, it was quite an experience. And then after that, that's when Jack started a class, and I was in it, the next class.
What was it like? Jeez, what was it like going home and telling the family, and just after that, was it like did it suddenly hit you later on, like, whoa, did this happen, or maybe start shaking, or?
Oh, it was. I had a young. My oldest one was young. My son. Let's see. My son was less than a year old.
Okay, that'd be good.
Okay, so at the time, my wife comes out. She's sick as a dog. Because everybody, like I told you, I have a brother that was in law enforcement. He was at the house. My father at the time was alive. He was at his home, so they were getting this in the middle of the night. So it was very, upsetting for everybody. I think I told my I told my wife at the time. I just said, listen, go lay down, try and get some sleep, whatever. I go, I'm going to drink till I drop. I said, that's the honest truth. I said,
It's self-medication.
I don't know what else
right now.
What else to do. So that's what I did. So it's the funniest thing. Couldn't get drunk. I felt like I couldn't get drunk. I drank beer all day. I don't know how many I drank, but
you were just too. Did you feel like
you were just so wound up? It was just. I think I was up for like a whole nother day before I could actually crash.
My God, I'd say it was a hell of a crash when you did. Okay, so great, very good. That was 2002.
That was in 2000, January 14th, 2002.
2002, and he got 25 to life. Do you know?
He's still in.
Okay, I see.
He's still.
How does it work? Does he do the 25 and?
He's got to do minimum 25.
Okay.
Although nowadays with these new laws, I don't know.
Right.
So,
or good behavior or whatever.
But,
okay, I see. Damn, wow. Okay, very good. That brings us on to the negotiation. Okay, so that was your.
That was my break-in.
That was like your trial, or Jesus. Okay, so what is this class involved? How do you teach someone who presumably would have to be good at it already? How do you teach them to really be like a negotiator?
What they do in the police department is like they use negotiators are usually just the negotiators are usually mostly detectives. Okay, but they do but there are other higher ranks of police officers. So you have your supervisors also. You have sergeants, lieutenants. You have captains. We even had one deputy commissioner who was former chief of detectives, Pulaski, who was he was also trained as a negotiator. That's what you would do. They use detectives because we talk to people every day. You're always with cases. You're talking on a phone. You're talking to people in person. You're interviewing. Basically, being a detective, not to take anything away from the uniform officers. Uniform officers are also excellent at what they do. But uniformed officers that are on patrol, they're answering the radio. It's with detectives. They're doing. They're working cases. They're trying to solve the cases, put together cases to prosecute people. That's ultimate goal. Right. Is to solve the person's problems, and then so they pull us. What they do is they have a pool of us. I think now, I still go back to the academy and I do this presentation to new detectives becoming negotiators. So what they do now is, I think they're up to about 150 negotiators trained. In the police department.
In NYC.
So if any type of situation happens, they draw on that pool.
Okay.
So.
Okay, very good. Okay, so you you do your training, you actually become a negotiator. So, like, if there isn't a situation happening that requires a negotiator, are you just kind of waiting to be called, or you doing other stuff? Oh, really?
What you do is, nowadays, listen, everybody's got cell phones. Everybody, There's cameras, everything. You know, it's all about like they get the notification out right away. They get you, okay, listen, we need you to respond here. Doesn't matter, anywhere in the city, anywhere you have to go, where they tell you to go. And that's what you would do. You get in your car, you shoot out, you have like a jacket which identifies you as a hostage negotiator.
Okay.
We would also bring our own vests. So this is the heavier vests, almost like the SWAT vests, like that type of thing.
Like a bigger bullet.
Yeah. Hopefully you're not trying it out, but it's you get out there and like it's just I'll just say one thing, like it's very between the emergency service officers and the way they they're the best. They just set the whole thing up, and they you feel protected, so, and then when they and these guys are they're incredible. They do the negotiations many times too, where it's all settled before we even get there.
Okay, good.
So
I see. Okay, do you remember your first time being a negotiator, being called out and having to really get into it?
Yeah, I had several pretty good ones. I had one I always talk about. I went to one apartment where we were trying to talk to somebody who was having had basically some psychological problems. I don't know if he was off his meds or something, but
right.
What he did was this guy in particular broke the boiler in the building, and his brother, who also lived in the building, was this guy was really heated up. He didn't want to talk. They were trying to get him to talk. They knew the emergency service guys had already established he was in the apartment. So it's funny when you get up there because everybody tried a certain thing. So I'm thinking like out of the box, what do I do here?
You're talking to him through a door or something?
Yeah, through a door.
Okay.
So sometimes we would hook up we could do something with the phones,
Right.
something like that. This one in particular happened to be talking through the door. So I said, let me try something different. I'm like, hey, who the F broke the boiler? I broke the boiler. So, but my point was just to get him talking. So now I got him talking. I said, oh, all right, listen, I don't know. I'm being told, the people here are complaining. They call me here, and I'm like, so we started a dialogue, and basically got it down to the point where he was worried about his cat. So I said, I have the girl up here in 3C, this pretty young girl with dark hair. He goes, yeah. I go, she's willing to hold the cat for you if that's okay. He goes, she will? I said, yeah. So he goes, okay, yeah, she can hold the cat. So I said, all right, listen. So then we negotiated, and we took him into custody, and then we worked with the EMS. I said, listen, would you mind? Can we change the normal protocol and take him down to this hospital?
Okay.
And the supervisor and see was, yeah, no problem, because we might deal with him again in the future. So you don't want to get, you kind of know the people like who might be regulars,
right,
for a better term, okay?
Yeah.
And if you're going to deal with it again, you really don't want to lie to them, because if you do lie to them, they're going to remember that.
Interesting.
And they might even turn around and ask for me again. So then you go over, like you would do that, and you go over and meet them afterwards and say, okay, take care, whatever.
Was he holding someone hostage?
No, he wasn't. One I did in Queens. That was a crazy one. That was out in the 114, which is basically right over here. Not far from here. It's right over. I think it was the I forget which project it was. But I was
Astoria Houses.
It wasn't Astoria Houses.
Ravenswoods. Okay, Ravenswoods.
I was out there, and it was February. I remember it was actually Valentine's Day. So my Valentine was was my partner Al Morales for the day. So we drove out there, and at the time it was we were being told there was nobody else working at the time. So I get in the car, I'm going out there with snow. It was like snow still on the ground and stuff. So you get out there, getting the calls, and this must have been going on for a little while. So when I get there, I go into the building, I go up the stairs. You had the fire department on the floor below. I still don't even know what's going on here yet.
Right.
The water is literally running down the stairs like a waterfall, all the way down into this basement of this building. They're sitting there with charged hoses. They get up there and they get told, nope, don't come up here.
They're shooting water down.
No, they're holding the hoses, waiting for
Okay.
like a potential fire, like
Right.
they're holding on to. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm looking around, like, okay,
That's
let's go. They go out to we have our own truck, hostage negotiation truck. So they go down to the truck. We're gonna do everything from there. I said, okay, because they had it all hooked up with the phones to talk to this person. So I went downstairs. I go out to the truck. I get in the truck. There's a couple of chiefs in there. I'm like, oh boy. So what's going on? So I was explained. He had a guy up there, had his 18-month-old daughter, holding her. They're both doused in gasoline. Okay. The whole apartment is filled with gas cans, propane tanks, anything, all kinds of explosive device, something explosive, basically,
Yeah.
all through this apartment. So I'm like, so believe me, when you tell you like, you're like, oh, good.
A big one.
Okay, here we go. So, and then, of all people that show up, here comes Jack Cambria.
All right.
I'm like, whew. I go, this is, and Sam Miller,
Okay.
my two saviors. I said, oh, they brought out the A team here. Good. So Jack goes, all right, you're gonna do this, Mike. I go, thanks, Jack. So we sat down and we put the headphones on. We're watching. And we actually had a view of him, so I could actually watch him while I'm talking to him.
Okay. He's on the 4th floor?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's up there. We have this conversation. It went on. I think it went on for about 5 hours.
Wow.
It was about 5 hours. There was an emergency service detective that had been engaged in conversation with him for I don't know how long, but he was at one of the doors and doing this. So we get on. I start talking to him, and it's like it was going well, to the point where I think that maybe we're making progress where this guy's going to actually, surrender, or and then we had a couple of things happen where it kind of pushed us back.
Really?
Okay, where he got agitated for whatever reason. So once we continue this whole conversation, and let me tell you something, it's very difficult because here you are, you see somebody coming and he's going to light up a cigarette and you want to go, don't light, but you don't want to I don't want him to know that I'm watching him.
Oh,
So you
okay.
kind of
He
just
didn't
trying
know
to,
that. Right.
yeah, in that situation we were able to get like a camera in there.
Right, okay, but he didn't know, right?
So I didn't want to give away that advantage. So it's difficult. So I would actually like look away at like a blank wall because,
I don't want to see this.
no.
Yeah.
And so after, like I said, after 5 hours, this man was exhausted. This guy, he was exhausted. He was spent. He winds up, we watch him, and just the way, excuse me, he's, excuse me.
I don't know.
He, just the way his body language, the way he's seated, we could tell he was tired, tired, exhausted. So we try and get them to we might try and get him to come to the door. So we were trying to get him to come to the door, but when he sat down like that, I said, okay, let me call you back in 5 minutes. All right, take a break. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. I hang up. We have a discussion there. I said, well, how about if we go in? So now we're going to make the entry. Mike, you have a good rapport with him. Keep talking with him. Tell him we're gonna come in. So I went that route. I said, okay, let's give it a shot. So called him back. Spoke to him. Said, listen, just relax. These guys are gonna come in. Nobody's gonna get hurt. They're gonna come in. When they come in, they're gonna probably tell you what to do so nobody gets hurt. We want to make sure that your daughter doesn't get hurt, and and you don't get hurt, and they don't get hurt. And we're gonna fix this whole thing. And at that point he tried to get up to. Everything was done. Everybody was, the baby was safe. He was taken into custody, taken over to the whatever psych ward he was going to go to.
Jeez.
and the fire department was able to get in there and secure everything so nothing blew up, and nothing burned.
Oh God. Had he been making? Was there something he wanted all along?
No, he was just very. From what I remember, he was just like very, very irrational. He was. There was also concerns with the wife at the time, or the mother of the child. Huh. So there were issues with that, some domestic issues, and once you talk to him, he was, a lot of just. I never found out if he was actually taking some kind of medication where he stopped, something like. But he was okay. I went over and I met him, and I was like, all right. And he was just at that point he was just kind of bewildered. He just was going to go to the hospital and get evaluated.
What's actually the what's like the content of what you're saying to each other? Are you okay, I get you're probably trying to get him to relax and everything, but like what's he saying back to you?
Well, this is the thing. When you're talking to somebody, basically, as a negotiator, you want to find what the problem is. So you turn around, you're speaking like if I'm speaking to you right now. I'm going to say, look, might say something like, like I'm looking at you, so I could see a lot more, visually. Mm-hmm. But if you talk and say, well, what's going on here? Well, if it's a lot of times it could be domestic problems, financial problems. You have people. What are usually the causes? People throw people into severe depression. I've had other ones where I was just joking about this not that long ago, saying I had three people jumping off the roof at one time. They all spoke Mandarin.
The same roof together?
Same roof.
Together.
All together. And so I'm like, this is one for the the books, when you're talking about three people speak Mandarin Chinese on the roof, threatening to jump off, and we're trying to pull. That's what's incredible about this police department, is that they were able to pull several people, try to get as many Mandarin-speaking officers there to do this. And now I was actually coaching, was a sergeant from the 5th Precinct, and asking him what's going. So that was a real difficult one, because you're doing this it's going from point A to point, and basically we're just trying to grab them before they can jump. And this was all about financial problems, about a business they had in China that was seized by the government. So they were coming here, and they did it near a building down by the UN. They wanted to get down to the Chinese mission, but they were never going to get down there. So they went to a building that was having construction on it, and they used that as their pedestal to promote their problem.
Bloody hell! My God, do you get many? Roughly, but like as a percentage of your calls, how many roughly do you think are people who look like they're going to commit suicide and you need to talk to them out of it? Like 1 in 10, 1 in 5?
It's hard to say. Yeah. It's really hard to say, but when I was first doing it, the numbers increasingly went up, because I think with the police department, they try and avoid. They really do. They just try and avoid any issues. They don't want nobody getting hurt. Nobody wants to get hurt, and they'll do their best to just prevent that. So when you have that, but their jobs progressively, like I said, I still speak with people who are active, and the amount of jobs per month have gone up.
Really?
They go up. They call them. Yeah, they call them out there now. Especially, they want to any situation, because just to rather resolve it peacefully.
Yeah, of course. Do you remember what it was like going home after the Ravenswood incident? Was it like a similar thing where you were? Oh,
you are drained. You're physically, emotionally drained. I walked out, and like I said, my partner came with me. Now he's not trained as a hostage negotiator, so he's basically sitting around, waiting or trying to assist every way he can. Like he was doing, he'd call up, do computer checks, get an idea, like who the person we're dealing with, just to get me the information,
Right.
doing his part. But at the time when we're walking out, I didn't realize this, but we're going back to the car, and there was basically like a corral of people there, and I realized they were reporters. So when I walked past, one guy yells out, "Hey, negotiator!" And I turned around and said, "Yeah, what's up?" And he started smiling. He goes, "You're the guy who did that hostage. You just did that negotiation, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah, how'd you know that?" He goes, "We heard every word." I said, "What?" And what had happened at the time, because so far away because of the situation with the possible explosion and everything, they had this channeled through speakers, so the supervisors on the outside could hear what was going on.
Oh.
So they heard this. So I was like, And the guy basically gave me a nice compliment. He says, "Hey, if I ever get taken hostage, you better show up." I said, "Okay." I said, I didn't like that.
See.
Because I'm like, if this would have went bad,
Right,
this
yep.
would have been very bad.
Yep.
But I'm like, okay, I mean, that one worked out, but I remember going back and I'm like, oh, thank God I got the flowers. It was what do you call it? It was Valentine's Day. I said I'd really be in big trouble. You know, I got home late. You know.
Stuff.
So.
Oh my God, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez. Kind of tricky question, but like, do you have any that didn't go so well?
No, never.
Oh, really?
Never.
Jesus, good for you.
No, I mean, you know, the police department has pretty much a. You see, this is how we look at things. Okay, I know it may not sound like right, but I think it is. When you're dealing with somebody who is suicidal, okay, they've already made up their mind, or sometimes they haven't. The ones who you usually can speak with, and they don't want to do it. They don't want to commit suicide. The ones that are outright want to do it, like if you're talking like, if God forbid it was like a terrorist situation or something, and they're gonna, then you're dealing with somebody who's going to do it.
Okay.
So
they didn't come all this way.
That's how you that's how you look at it. If somebody turns around and jumps, I mean, I've actually seen people jump in front of me and commit suicide. And it's you just you wonder to yourself like where they are when they're doing this.
Yeah. My God. Okay, so how long in total did you spend as a negotiator?
Almost 17 years.
17.
About 16, 17 years, yeah.
Would you say the job kind of changed you in any way? I mean, you're dealing with the most extreme 1% of situations, you know. Did it change your outlook, or I don't know, anything like?
You know what? It's let me just say this. I can say that I was a victim of a crime. Okay, I was a victim of a crime, and by right I could be dead. Okay, and that humbled me. It also made me feel for people with problems coming in, and you still have to put everything in perspective. Otherwise, you're going to become a basket case. Okay, so like in that case, I have no problem. I would always, even when we went out and responded to certain scenes, and I had a good rapport with the patrol officers, and especially working the midnights, you'd see the guys and they were happy to see it because they're like, okay, we can move forward with this. And I would always, remind them, and just talk to them like I'm talking to you. It's a good thing. I said, just remember that, this could be our family members that are going through this or whatever. And it's, I know, because, it's a hard job. It's
Sure.
a hard job, and these guys are running back and forth. You don't realize, what were they just doing? What's going on in their lives? And they're coming to work, and they're trying to put that aside to take care of other people's, so it's like, that's kind of how I would deal with it,
Huh.
Did
you hear this phrase, I think, when with cops or with people with kind of high stress jobs about like bringing the job home, or
Yes,
or kind
sure.
of or not. Was that something that you improved your ability to do as you went on, or was it always the case? Or you know, if you're at the dinner table, can you leave what happened?
If my kids are older now, but it affects you. It affects you a little bit. You got to keep that, in check. It's not easy.
Sure.
It's not easy. You try to keep your lives separate.
Yeah,
I think that was,
I can only imagine.
I think towards the my later years, I didn't want to go in the city on my day off. That's the last place I want to go. It's like the kids want to go. Oh, let's go in the city. Nah. I don't want to go. You go there every day. And you see, and you're being called out on everything that's the worst.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
No, yeah. I get you.
Even coming here, just trying to find a parking spot. I'm like, oh, I don't miss this.
Oh, really? That's funny. Fair enough. Okay. So, what year did you end up retiring?
In 2018.
Oh, 2018. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You said, not too long ago. Okay, so you were about 35 years, you said, ended in 2018. Did you see the the city change much over that beginning of your career to the end? I'd imagine.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, listen, the city in '87. I mean, like I said, we had a crack epidemic. Bad time.
Right.
Really bad time. The city was turned around, where crime was really, everything was cleaned up.
Yeah.
Everything was cleaned up. You had businesses like booming in the city. The city was booming with tourism.
Sure. There's places that
things were better.
Okay.
Things were better, and just after all, just my opinion, but I think the last mayor just let it go.
Really? Okay. Yeah, a lot of people aren't a big fan of him. Were you happy to see a former cop become mayor then, Eric Adams?
I don't know. All I say is this. That's a tough job, okay? That is a seriously tough job.
Juggling a lot of plates.
You're trying to I don't know. I don't even know. I find a lot of things strange. I don't think we've gotten away from, I think, who's qualified or whatever. Then to just who do we think that should be there? Or
I see.
I mean, with him, I hope he turns it around. I really do, because I can't. The way things have happened is the whole all that hard work is gone. It's gone.
Yeah, there was a big recent years. Yeah, big shoot up in crime and subway and so on.
Yeah. People are actually, I'm only basing it on what people are saying, but they're not feeling safe anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yep. That's the case for a lot of people. Okay. So do you now that you're retired, do you follow police news or that kind of thing? Do you or is it the case that look, I've done all the 30-something years of cop stuff. I don't want to hear anymore. Or do you kind of would you listen to the news about the city and so on, or would you rather keep your head out of it?
No, I still not as much as I used to. I find the news to be very depressing. I find
not the only one.
And it's either on one side or the other side, and I'm just like, I wish we could just have a medium where I could listen to.
Not so polarized.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I still keep in touch with a lot of guys who are active.
Very good.
Good people.
Do you I think you mentioned it briefly about maybe not training them, but you go in and kind of help their training a bit, or speak, or give speeches to
Well,
them?
you know what it is? I get invited back. I would, on sometimes if it depends on if they, when they put a new class in, basically what they're doing is, between guys retiring and moving on or
Right.
transferring, they're trying to keep a certain number of detectives that are available. So when they do a new class, I've been invited back to, basically give the presentation, explain to like what I went through,
Okay.
and then to, and my experiences with it. It's just something to keep the guys, if it's something for them to think about.
Sure, of course. I guess sort of on that note, is police officer and more specifically negotiator, would that be something that you recommend to a younger cousin, or younger someone that you care about and have a rapport with? Would you advise that as a career path?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's a team. It's all a team effort. Okay, that's why they call it a team. Hostage negotiation team. It's not just us. It's the emergency service guys.
Sure.
It's the responding police officers from patrol who start the whole thing and set it, from the beginning. And it's a whole joint effort. I mean, when you turn around, you have our we have a unit called Tarot. They're our technical guys. Those are the guys who do everything with the computers, with the phones, those are the guys who make it possible for us to talk to them.
Right. What would you say? What would you say are the traits of a good hostage negotiator?
Listen.
Really listening.
Yeah, you gotta listen.
Interesting. This is called the Good Listener Podcast.
You gotta listen. It's also too, when we do this, we have one detective doing the negotiation. You have the other detective with you, call him a coach. He sits there and he writes out notes because he's intently listening, and he writes down certain things. Basically, we're just trying, you basically, like I said before, you're just trying to get to the root of the problem.
Okay.
And once you can get there, then you can establish a good negotiation, a good conversation with these people.
Interesting. Okay. What's one? Oh yeah. Just another quick thing in TV shows, movies, so on. Are there like frustrating mistakes when that you spot when they're portraying like a hostage negotiator? Is it like, oh god, that would never happen in real life, or they don't really do this?
Well, are you referring to a certain movie or something? Or?
I suppose kind of broadly. I guess the movie I think of is Dog Day Afternoon.
Dog Day Afternoon.
I remember the negotiator was like kind of a quick talker type, and he tried kind of BSing him earlier. Oh no, you'll only get,
He was great. He was great.
In the movie, yeah, he was good.
Was that Charles Durning, I think?
Are you allowed to go back? Are you allowed? Okay, to be fair, I guess you said with the people who look like they're going to be repeat offenders that you probably don't want to lie to them because then next time. But like generally speaking, do you have full scope? Can you tell them? Oh yeah, no, I'm going to get you the jet that you want to go to fucking wherever. Are you allowed just kind of BS them, make false promises and so on?
They really frown on that.
Okay.
They really you don't listen. You really have to. That's a difficult question to answer because it all depends on who you're dealing with. If you're dealing with like first of all, I think probably one of the hardest negotiations would probably be if we could deal with some kind of like terrorists that have like I'm talking like a legitimate terrorist group that already has the intent to do certain things.
Probably can't get
so you really can't BS these people, So you try. I mean, that's just my opinion. I try not to lie to people.
I see.
So
fair enough.
But yeah, if you had to use it, yeah, you might use it. But you got to remember something. That's something you got to that you did. So that's why, if you lie to somebody, you might be dealing with that person again.
Yeah. And there's no way they'll trust you. Yeah, exactly. Just another quick thing. Life after the job. Do you this may sound a bit naive, but like, is there some kind of like buzz that you miss, or is there anything? Oh, I miss having an exciting job, or no.
I miss the guys. I miss the guys and girls. They were I met best people in the world on that job. I miss seeing them. It was, I was kid around to me. I was tried to treat it like it was an extension of high school.
Okay.
Just laughing. I
Lighthearted.
couldn't tell you how many laughs we had, even in the worst scenes. It's just all about the people.
Okay.
I do
Fair.
miss the job. I miss the job a little bit. Some of the certain situations, but but after a while, I think to me it gets played out with the intensity going up to here and then down to here, and
I can only imagine. Really, I can.
that's the thing that makes me a little nervous, because that's what wears and tears on you.
I see. Among negotiators, but cops generally, I think there's at least a reputation of like kind of heavy drinking, and it's self-medicating. Like you said, when you came home after the other one, that's something you found to be.
Well, I did it that day. I mean, listen, that's just that's an
generally,
easy
not even
that's an
generally.
easy way out.
Yeah.
I think that's why alcoholism, fortunately with certain jobs it's high.
Yeah, of course.
So
High stress. Very good. I won't keep you any longer. Thank you very much for joining me.
yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it. Take care, Bath.
Pleasure meeting you.
Very good.